6 o'clock, so I'm going to start the meeting. Welcome you all to the Civic. Welcome everyone present to this meeting in the Civic Centre and all those observing the meeting on Microsoft Teams. I believe we are live tonight. Fire alarm procedure. There are no fire drills expected this evening, so in the event of an alarm sounding, please quickly make your way out of the building. There are 3 exits from this room which members can use to vacate the premises. Please switch mobile phones onto silent or switch them off. And if you do have any calls that are urgent, take them outside the meeting room. Do not leave any bags unaccompanied and or report any unaccompanied bags. Remember to take any bags with you when the meeting is concluded or as you leave the meeting. As I said, this meeting may be subject to filming or audio recording by others in accordance with the Council's filming protocol. Anyone who remains in the meeting following this announcement will have deemed to have consented to allow their image to be recorded and broadcast. Moving on to the agenda. Can I have apologies for absence, please?
We have apologies from Councillor Hammersley, Councillor Bell, Councillor Clay, Councillor Moxon and Councillor Metcalfe. Councillor Ellis will act as substitute for Councillor Hammersley. Councillor Abbs will act as substitute for Councillor Clay and Councillor Anderson will act as substitute for Councillor Moxon.
Do we have any further apologies from the floor? No. Nothing from Councillor Anderson. Answer.
Chair, would you want me to try and text him?
Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Any council have a declaration of interest? As indicated. Thank you. Item 3, minutes of the site visit held on the 18th of December. I would normally seek a proposer and seconder for those minutes. Unfortunately, looking at members who are present, the only person who was at the site meeting, she wasn't on the as a committee member, but was Councillor Anderson. So that's why I was waiting for Councillor Answer. As we don't have members, I'll have to defer item 3, so we can't take that for a vote. Move on to item 4, will be slightly better because I believe we've got members who were at the meeting. So could I have a proposer and seconder for the minutes of the planning committee held on the 18th of December to confirm those minutes as a correct record? I've got Councillor Swinscoe and Councillor Tempest-Mead. Are there any amendments to them? Accuracy? No. Can we have a vote? Those members who were present, please show. Yeah. Those minutes are accepted. Thank you. Move on to item 5, which is planning application reference 2023-0357 COU, change of use from public house to commercial unit ground floor, and 1 number 4-bedroom and 1 number 6-bedroom house in multiple occupation, first and second floors, including internal and external alterations, 15 Marketplace, Mansfield. Could I invite the officer to make a report, please?
Thank you, Chair. In terms of updated information, we've as an email from Councillor Tempest-Mitchell, who has withdrawn his request for a site visit prior to the committee meeting. In relation to notes from the officer, no response has been received from building regulations or the fire service in relation to their consultation responses regarding shared escape routes and shared bin storage. An informative note is therefore recommended advising the applicant that this contact should be made with the relevant services to discuss these matters. Turning to the proposal itself, the application site comprises of the Dial, which is a former public house and is a 3-storey Grade 2 listed building, which occupies a commanding position within the Marketplace Conservation Area, as you can see on the plan in front of you. It's also located within the primary shopping frontage of the town centre and has been vacant since the public house ceased trading in December 2019. The Mansfield Town Centre Master Plan and Design Code identifies the marketplace as a key area for enhancement within the town centre and encourages residential uses on the upper floors of buildings. This application seeks permission for the change of use of the former public house to provide a commercial unit on the ground floor with 2 HMOs on the first and second floors, as you can see on the floor plans in front of you. It's intended that the commercial unit would provide an open-ended Class E use, which permits a number of different uses, including retail and professional and financial services. Various internal and external alterations are also proposed to the listed building to provide the new use. You can see these new walls they're outlined in yellow on the floor plans. And there are also some minor elevation alterations proposed as well. In terms of the principle of development, the proposal would bring back into use a redundant building, and through the introduction of a new commercial unit at ground floor level would also help secure the vitality and viability of the primary shopping frontage. By providing a HMO on the first and second floors, the proposal would also accord with policy RT2 of the local plan, which seeks to encourage the residential use of upper floors of buildings in the town centres. As such, it's considered that the principal development is acceptable in this case. As previously mentioned, only very minor alterations are proposed to the exterior of the building, including the replacement of certain windows and repair works to the front facade. These alterations would enhance the external appearance of the heritage asset and character of the conservation area. There'd also be no material loss of historic fabric, with existing historic detail to be largely retained and repaired. A noise assessment has been submitted which demonstrates the proposal would provide an appropriate living environment for the residents of the HMOs, subject to the use of mechanical ventilation for certain rooms within the HMO. However, interested parties have raised concerns that the proposed HMOs would increase the level of antisocial behaviour in the area, adversely impacting on the vitality and viability of the adjacent public house and also harming community cohesion. Whilst it's acknowledged that the site lies within a high area of crime rates, the proposal would include measures to secure the building and reduce opportunities for crime. This would include locking mechanisms which would accord with secure by design standards. Providing the above measures are introduced by condition, Nottinghamshire Police raised no objection to the proposal on the basis of the impact on community cohesion or on increasing crime. Although it would be possible that maybe be some potential for interactions between patrons of the adjacent public houses and the residents of the HMO, there is no evidence for us to suggest that this modest HMO would significantly increase into issues with antisocial behaviour in the area or increase crime. Therefore, in summary, the proposal would enhance the vitality and viability of the town centre and the historic interest of the listed building. The regeneration and heritage benefits would therefore outweigh any concerns raised regarding community cohesion, given that Nottinghamshire Police raised no objections to the proposal. As such, Planning Permission is recommended, subject to the conditions set out in the report.
Thank you for your report. I've got speakers, so I'd like to invite Jessica Hurd, please. Okay, Jessica, when you're ready. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Committee, for this opportunity to speak in support of this application. I am Jessica Hurd, a Chartered Planner at Planning and Design Group and the agent for the application. The application before you presents an opportunity to support a very positive reuse of a prominent building that is in need of a new life. The public house has been vacant for over 4 years. Extensive marketing has failed to find a new operator. There is no realistic prospect of a public house use being restarted. Due to lack of use, the condition of the building has deteriorated. It must be a priority to secure its reuse, preserve its heritage value as a listed building and its positive contribution to the marketplace conservation area. This proposal for commercial use of the ground floor with residential use above is the best opportunity to interject new life into the building, whilst at the same time supporting the vitality and vibrancy of the town centre. The flexibility of a Class A use for the commercial unit will help to maximise the prospect of securing an occupier and reducing any periods of vacancy. The local plan supports the residential use of the upper floors of buildings in the town centre, which might otherwise remain underutilised or empty. This proposal will deliver high quality accommodation of the type of which there is significant demand in an appropriate location, helping to meet the diverse needs of the district. The design and internal layout of the residential rooms complies with the local and national space standards. The council's housing team has raised no objections. Being in the town centre, there will inevitably be some external noise associated with general levels of activity and nearby uses. The scheme has addressed the need for quieter internal noise levels. The proposed replacement windows with acoustic glazing and mechanical ventilation will also be provided, so windows can be kept shut if necessary. The Council's Environmental Health Officer has reviewed these proposals and raised no objections. Internal bin and cycle storage will be provided, so there will be no clutter or in front of the property. The proposal strongly accords with the objectives and policies of the local plan. It is a good example of how a building can be adapted to meet changing needs without detriment to the local area or its positive contribution to local character. The Council has been proactive in response to the many challenges faced by the town centre. Its vision, as demonstrated through the town centre master plan, is one of positivity. This proposal will make a small but important contribution to achieving that vision. The heritage aspects of this proposal in regard to the building being Grade 2 listed and were fully considered in the agenda item, which will follow this application. The change of use has, however, been sensitive to the heritage values of the building. Internal reconfiguration is to be kept to a minimum, whilst also introducing new facilities. The front facade of the building will remain unchanged, although new windows will be installed to match the existing and the wall repainted. In summary, this application embodies what planning is all about: sensitive and sensible reuse and adaptation to meet changing demands, preservation of important buildings, making efficient use of land in sustainable locations, and being creative to meet the needs of local people. Through collaborative working with your officers, all technical and policy issues have been satisfactorily addressed, and the scheme has been endorsed by all the relevant technical consultees. It is in this context that I wholeheartedly commend your officers' report to you and its recommendations. I hope that you're able to agree and respectfully request that this application be supported. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jessica. Do members have any questions of the speaker? Yeah, Councillor Swinscoe.
So it's just referring to your windows, and you said that you have mechanical ventilation, and you said so that if necessary the windows could be kept shut. If looking at the report, it's actually recommended that they are permanently sealed, and and the occupiers will rely solely on mechanical ventilation. So what is it?
So it's mainly with the frontage windows. Tom may correct me, but the frontage windows will need to be permanently closed, whereas the rear can be open, because some of the habitable rooms are to the rear rather than the front.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
So in total, there will be 10 rooms in the house of multiple occupation. What will the ratio of bathrooms to living quarters be?
asking me to do math.
What will they be?
There's an ensuite in every bedroom, and then on the levels there's the communal space, which includes the kitchen and the living space.
Thank you. May I ask another one, Chair, or do I need to wait for somebody?
Yeah.
No, thank you. So in regard to the access to the site, I would worry that at night, as a woman by myself, coming into that house, it would be unsafe. Are there any mitigations in place for that?
So obviously, as Tom says, it will comply with the secure by design guides. The applicant may want to re-clarify this, but there's probably potential for CCTV to be installed as well, and appropriate lighting with sensory light if they're outside to make sure that it's well lit.
Any further questions? Councillor Tempest Mitchell.
Thank you. What provision are you making for disability access?
So from memory, I think the access off the main marketplace is accessible to the commercial. If not, there could be a temporary ramp that would be obviously put to the side to access the commercial facility.
Well, if a resident moves in and the only place is the third floor and then they become disabled, what provision is made for them?
Unfortunately, because it's a listed building, and as we've worked with the conservation officer quite comprehensively, installing something such as a lift wouldn't be doable and achievable, unfortunately. We've had to, as you can see from the layout, and I can explain the listed building as well, we've had to redesign this to fit with the historic fabric, so obviously retain the staircases that are there, and that sort of level of intervention with the listed building would be quite serious.
Any further questions? Yeah.
So I think the answer is there was no disability access.
Not to the
third floor. So if somebody was to become disabled and they'd lived there for say 6 months, what would they do?
They would have to look elsewhere, or speak to the applicant to look at whether any accessibility measures in addition could be included to the first and second floor.
Any further questions? Councillor Anderson.
So in regard to the commercial site that's going to be on the ground floor, do we know what will be within that commercial site?
So what we've done is we've kept it open use class E to allow future flexibility for any potential occupier of that commercial unit.
Will that be disruptive to the residents above?
No, so we have agreed with the planning officer restricted hours of opening, which are reasonable for the habitable spaces above.
Any further questions? Councillor Ellis.
Right. Mine's just a clarification that the fire service and building regulation reports will be done, because we haven't got that for this, that there will be contact. Because I'm wary about the escape routes, having lived in a house of multiple occupation.
Any further questions? Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
We'll invite James Cross as a supporter to give his presentation. Yep, when you're ready, James.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee for this opportunity to speak in support of the application. I am James Cross, the applicant. I'm a Nottinghamshire-based builder and construction manager, and I work with a team of locally based tradespeople on small developments. We take great pride in what we do, and I like to think that all of our new buildings and conversions we've completed make a positive contribution to the local areas. This is not our first project in Mansfield. We recently obtained consent for the conversion of the old 8 Bells, 18 to 20 Church Street, to offices and apartments for a supported living provider. Building works are well underway, starting officially in February. You might have seen in the recent news we've had some issues inside the building. Just like this proposal, we've taken a building that has been vacant for a long time and we'll bring it back to life. The proposal before you will, with your support, add to the list of developments that we're very proud of. We are fully aware of the Council's overall vision for Mansfield's town centre and committed to supporting its objectives. We recognise what Mansfield has to offer, and we've identified an opportunity to help support, and we've made a decision to invest in it. We made the decision to seek permission for a flexible Class E use, the ground floor commercial unit, as in my experience, both in Mansfield and other town centres in Nottinghamshire, this presents the best opportunity of securing a tenant to the ground floor. I've had positive feedbacks in response to some low-key soft marketing we've done so far, but won't be able to confirm this until planning permission has been granted and we've started the works. The upper floors will be very difficult to let to a commercial tenant, so we explored various options for residential use, and conversion to apartments or even a single larger HMO would have been technically possible, but would have required significant implications and changes to the internals of the building. So therefore, we've gone with the 2 HMO scheme, which made most sense for commercial and heritage reasons. There continues to be a strong demand for HMO type accommodation, and it appeals to be quite a broad range of tenants, generally younger but professionals as well as students and those unable to rent or buy a house or a flat. Our HMOs are specified to a high quality fit out, and the type of tenants we attract reflect that quality. You have heard from Jessica as the efforts to have gone to address potential noise issues on this site. Obviously, the people who choose to live in the building will know it's in the town centre. The replacement heritage grade timber frame windows with double glazing, wall and ceiling insulation, as well as a mechanical ventilation system that will be installing and helping to ensure internal noise levels meet the relevant standards. As Jessica said, your environmental health officer has agreed with our proposals. I'm aware that there's been some objections. I don't, however, share the concerns, and I very much appreciate that any change can be worrying and bring uncertainty. But as per your officer's report, has pointed out that none of the issues raised by the objections stand in the way of a proposal being accepted. We want to be good neighbours and ensure Dar has a long, positive future ahead of it. My team of tradespeople and I are very much looking forward to bringing the listed building back to life, and I hope you share and support our vision and could support this planning application. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, or I will elaborate on previous questions. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Do we have any questions of the speaker? Councillor Tempest-Mitchell.
A really quick one. You obviously know about HMOs and the sorts of people that will rent these places. I know it's difficult this, but can you give us a kind of an outline of the sort of person and maybe their life circumstances that would move into somewhere like this in the middle of town centre?
Yeah,
please.
Absolutely. So my personal preference, and I think the best suit of the building, I've already had a couple of providers interested. We work very closely with supported living providers, which is what we've done at Church Street, and generally that is some interest we've already had to house people. It's difficult to know the tenant type, but generally vulnerable people who have either a risk of homelessness or mental health issues. So the one we've done on Church Street was for autism, so they've got their new head office on the ground floor, and then they have supported living facilities for autistic residents, and it will probably doing something similar, but I don't know the exact provider at this moment in time. But from a security level as well, we'll have CCTV throughout and staff every day, if not 24/7, with those type of buildings as well. So hopefully that's giving a bit of indication.
Thank you, James. Any further questions? No? Thank you very much. Can I invite members' questions to officers? Anyone wish to ask a question? Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Chairman. So just for clarification, in regards to the windows and the mechanical ventilation system, which was referenced to earlier, because it's a listed building, I would imagine that the windows would be a sash type window, which if there was a fire and somebody needed to get out in an emergency would be an ideal space to exit the building. And also it's been brought up about the lack of input from the fire authority. Is there an escape plan and escape route for residents if a fire were to happen in that building?
It would be a requirement under building regulations to ensure that there's appropriate fire escapes for the building. So it would be controlled by that, as well as also disability access as well under building regulations. So yeah, we're also proposing an informative as well, requiring the applicant to contact the fire authority and building control to discuss fire escape issues. So there would be a requirement for a dialogue under that.
And back to planning then, or how would that?
No, be dealt with by building regulations. Yeah.
Any further questions? Councillor Swinscoe?
Just a quick one. The skips or the rubbish bins, whatever they call, I'm assuming that they're going to be inside the building as there isn't any space out. How's that going to be managed with vermin and smells and etc.? Is there any plan in place for that?
As you can see, the plan on the screen in front of us shows bins in this area here. So that'll be accessed from presumably through the building. So yeah, that would provide an appropriate space and would sort of prevent any vermin gathering. It's not going to be an open area of bin storage where you may get vermin coming in. So it would actually be enclosed within the actual building itself.
Councillor Stevenson?
Thank you. It was noted in responses that the type of tenant you're likely to get in a property like this is likely to be vulnerable. Given the report, the response from Nottinghamshire Police Architectural Liaison Officer states that crime in ESB is in the 99th percentile for the area, violence is in the 99th percentile, weapon possession is in the 99th percentile nationally. In addition, the area falls in the 99th percentile for drugs offences and the 99th percentile for burglary. It seems there's a genuine concern that we would be putting vulnerable or likely to get vulnerable people into this property. It's stated at the bottom, proposal should accord with the secured by design standards. Are you able to elaborate on what that means and how we would be protecting potentially vulnerable people who would be moving into this property, please?
There would be secureable locks on all entrances and within the building, which accord with the requirements under secure by design. And also there would be a CCTV system operating within the building to reduce potential crime opportunities. I think in terms of it's the whole of Mansfield town centre is within those areas that you mention. So it's something which covers the whole area. But with the measures that we have been proposed in terms of the lockable mechanisms, the CCTV cameras, we feel that the police feel that on balance it's not going to create an issue, despite the fact that it is in an area of high crime.
Any further questions? Councillor Tempest Mitchell?
Thank you. Just going on just a little bit further from that. We appreciate that it's the whole of the town centre, but surely the elephant in the room is that it's in between two pubs that open till 2 in the morning on Fridays and Saturdays, and we're potentially putting vulnerable people, as we had evidence. That if you were above, say, I don't know, Marks and Spencer's, you're probably a little bit safer than you are in between two pubs that open till 2 in the morning and open at 7 in the morning on a Saturday morning, so it's closed for 5 hours. Having worked with autistic people in schools, I think that might be putting vulnerable people in a hotspot. Is that a consideration we should take?
I mean, I appreciate that it is a concern, and the report's addressed that, and obviously we've consulted with the police. We've got quite a detailed response from the police, and any statement that comes back in, because it has to be agreed and approved by the local planning authority, would be in consultation with the police again. So that's the secure mechanism in terms of any planning permission that's given, that it's dealt with by planning condition in consultation with the police. In terms of vulnerability, it's a really difficult one. And I was saying previously, I did have a case in when I worked in Bassett Law, and it was a children's care home, and the police raised the same concerns actually about putting vulnerable children into an area that was a high crime, and it was refused on that basis, but it was lost at appeal. The inspector gave it very little weight really because there was no evidence, and I think, as we've talked before, it's evidence that is the key here, and what evidence have we got to actually prove that, and on balance we feel that the conditions satisfy the concerns that have been raised.
Are there any further questions? No one's indicated. Thank you. Could I seek a proposer and seconder for the recommendation, which is to approve the planning permission? Councillor Stevenson and Councillor Nabbs. Thank you. We're in debate mode. Do you have any comments? Anyone wishing to make any comment? Councillor Tempest-Mitchell.
For me, it's the elephant in the room, that where it is, that once people are in there, they're probably reasonably safe. But getting in there and coming out, and the noise and the pubs on both sides, and having sat there and listened to the noise even during the day, I think vulnerable people are particularly, and we've already heard, these are probably going to be vulnerable people, whether they be autistic, whether they've come out of prison, whether they come out of the army or whatever, then I just think it's dangerous of this type of residence to be put in that spot. For me, it's violence waiting to happen, potentially worse than violence happen along with the crime and the drugs, for me.
Thank you for the comment there, Councillor Tempest-Mitchell. I can take on board your point, but I'm advised that it's not a planning issue, and that the private sector housing teams confirmed that to obtain the HMO licence from the council, there's a duty on the licence holder to incorporate measures to prevent any potential antisocial behaviour associated with HMO prior to the licence being issued. Not passing the book, but it's something that we're discussing as a possibility but you don't know until it's been done, and the occupants may be vulnerable or they may not be. If they are, the licensing rule for the HMO, they need to make provision. So we're not throwing it out sort of thing, but it's something that we've been mindful of. But that's the advice I've been given. Are there any other comments during this? Councillor Stevenson?
Thank you. I think regardless of potential people moving there being vulnerable or not, I think there's still a clear consideration that there's a potential danger for people who are living there. Regardless, you know, we sit here and we listen to the experts, and again we read the recommendation and the advice that's been given, and if you know, if it satisfies what the police have recommended, then you know, again, I can't see really any reason not to accept and go with the recommendation. So yeah, just thanks for your advice on this.
We've got a couple of comments from officers. Angela's going to address you first.
Yes, I just wanted to just advise members, obviously you're all aware of the need for evidence, and what a robust decision would not be supported if you're making assumptions about the character of the people who are going to be living in the property. We don't know who that is going to be, and assumptions will not be supported on appeal. So any decision you made does need to be substantiated by evidence. Okay, thank you.
And I'll just bring Claire in as well.
Yeah, thank you, Angela. I was really going to say the same thing, that I understand the concerns, because when you talk about HIMOs, I think perceptions come to mind, and that's always difficult in planning, because obviously we're land use planners. So in land use planning terms, putting a form of residential development on upper floors is in compliance with all planning policies. It's in compliance with our town centre master plan, for example. We've got the commercial use at ground floor, so it ticks all those boxes in policy terms. But then obviously at the back of everybody's mind there's this perception issue, but it is very difficult, as well Angela didn't say, but I think it's very difficult to actually find the evidence to say that the people that are going in there are vulnerable. They might be, they might not be. We just don't know. You could get students going in, you could get a mixture of people going in that want to live in the town centre, for example. So from a planning point of view, we then look at those issues and then try and find ways of eliminating those issues, which is what we've done via the conditions secured by design and working with the police. And that way we hopefully get a good development out of it and bringing the building back into use.
Thank you. Further comments? Thank you very much. I'll move to a vote now on the motion. We've got a proposer and seconder. All those in favour of granting plan permission, please show of hands. Those against? Any abstentions? The motion's been passed to grant planning permission. So therefore, planning application reference 2023-0357 COU, change of use from public house to commercial unit ground floor. One the 4-bedroom and one the 6-bedroom house in multiple occupation, first and second floors, including internal and external alterations, 15 Marketplace, Mansfield, has been granted planning permission. Thank you. I'll move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is very similar, but application reference 2023-0356 LBW, listed building consent for internal and external alterations in association with a change of use from the public house to commercial unit ground floor, and one number 4-bedroom and one number 6-bedroom house in multiple occupation, first and second floors, 15 Marketplace, Mansfield. And can I ask the officers to make the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the accompanying listed building application for alterations to the former Bar pub, which is, as we've previously said, a Grade 2 listed building. To provide the proposed ground floor commercial unit and HMOs on the upper floors, the proposal would include various internal alterations to the existing layout. Although the approach to the internal reconfiguration of the property has been to retain existing fabric where possible and reinstate previously removed walls, there are inevitably some alterations proposed to the internal layout of the property, including the removal of the ground floor bar area, limited sections of walls, and the introduction of stud walls, as you can see outlined in yellow on the plans here. The internal alterations will retain historic fabric where possible and do not actually involve the removal of any material areas of historic fabric. And in relation to the exterior of the building, it largely involves the repair and replacement of existing windows where relevant. And as you can see from the photographs here, the exterior of the building is declining in terms of its external appearance, so the scheme would be to improve that appearance, whether it's the repair or whether it's the introduction of new windows, which would respect the proportions and historic character of those openings. So therefore, list of building consent is recommended.
Thank you for the report. Again, we've got speakers on this application, so I'll invite Jessica to the podium again. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak in support of this list of building works to the Dial 15 Marketplace. Thank you for your support of the previous agenda item. I hope your decision on the application can be replicated for this proposal. As was discussed in the previous item, this is a Grade 2 listed building. Its heritage value is derived primarily from its external appearance and consequential contribution to local character. The internal layout of the property is, however, also of some interest. The potential for impacts on the heritage value of the property have been fully considered. The proposed internal reconfiguration has sought to minimise changes to the existing layout, whilst at the same time introducing modern amenities and improving the thermal and acoustic efficiency of the building. Externally, the appearance of the front of the building will be improved through the installation of new timber windows, which will match the design of the existing windows, and the repainting of the rendered wall. To the side and rear, metal framed windows will be replaced with heritage-appropriate timber-framed windows. The detailed design of those windows will all be subject to council approval. The council's conservation officer has been very helpful, providing detailed comments on the history of the building and casting a keen eye over the plans. Her feedback has informed improvements to the details of the proposal. The plans before you have been subject to her review and she has raised no objections. The building has clearly suffered from some neglect and deterioration as a consequence of its lack of use over the past few years. This proposal will allow the building to receive the TLC it deserves and continue to make a positive contribution to the appearance of the market square and the town centre as a whole. The age, character and heritage status of the building means that it will continue to require sensitive care and maintenance. As you will hear shortly from the applicant, maintenance responsibilities will fall upon the owner rather than individual tenants, so the longevity and preservation of the heritage asset can be assured. The works subject to this application are an essential and integral part of the proposal to the change of use of the property to a mixed commercial and residential use, injecting new life into an underutilised building. The proposals are sensitive to the heritage values of the building and will preserve and enhance its special architectural and historical interests and its setting as part of the conservation area. The proposals accord with the objectives and policies of the local plan and relevant national guidance. Once again, I commend your officer's report to you and its recommendation. I hope that you are able to agree and respectfully request that this application be supported. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jessica. Do members have any questions of the speaker? Councillor Rice?
So it's just a quick one. What happens to the Mansfield Brewery sign and the dial letters?
Yeah, so we had this conversation with the conservation officer during consultation to ask if it had any sort of special significance, and the answer to that was no. So it is proposed to be removed, the main sign. In terms of the dial sign, I believe that will probably stay.
Any further questions? As indicated. Thank you, Jessica. We'll invite James back to the podium. Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak again in support of the listed building works to the Dial Pub, and thank you for granting planning permission for the change of use. Obviously, the listed building consent application links directly to the change of use, and without approval for the listed building works, we will not be able to implement the change of use. I have direct and relevant experience working on buildings that have had recognised heritage value, and I have a good practical understanding of the sensitivities and challenges listed buildings bring. When we first looked at the building, we knew it presents some challenges, and I'd like to think that through that with our design team and the support from Jessica, along with the helpful advice from the officers, we've got a good scheme that does justice to the building. We have liaised closely with your conservation officer, working through a number of design iterations, thinking how best we can to introduce additional kitchens and bathrooms, improve the thermal efficiency of the building, and reduce noise levels, also while being true to the heritage value of the building. As you might expect, we've still got some details to work through, and we'll be submitting those plans to your officers for approval under the recommended conditions. I can't say working on a listed building is easy, but my team and I do relish a challenge. The replacement timber windows for the front of the building have been designed by a heritage glazing specialist to ensure that the character and appearance of the building is preserved. To enhance the building, we are also proposing to replace the existing metal frame windows on the rear elevation with timber windows, and this is all being welcomed by your conservation officer. At the suggestion of the officers, I've been in contact as well with the Mansfield Townscape Heritage project, and we've actively discussing options to attain a heritage grant to assist in the property repairs and further enhance the dial's appearance and architectural quality. To conclude, I hope I've been able to communicate at least some of the passion I have for me and my team and breathing life back into the Dial Pub and helping at once to attain a positive contribution to the Market Square and beyond. I trust you're able to agree with the officer's recommendations and support of the listed building consents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, James. Do members have any questions? As indicated, thank you. Do members have any questions of the officers? No one's indicating. Councillor Ellis.
Sorry, it's me again on the Mansfield Brewery sign. I was wondering, do we know how many we've got left within Mansfield? Because I would class that as an heritage asset. Not that I like Mansfield ale, but some people did.
I'm not aware of how many of the signs we have left on public houses, sorry.
Well, I was going to prompt you actually, and indicating that if you felt that the brewery sign should be retained, it could be conditioned. Whether it's essential or not. It is a nice sign that has been there for many years, and it was a pub. And like I say, there aren't too many left.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to think that this was the last one and we'd put this to the skip without thinking about our Mansfield heritage.
I'll let Claire respond on that, but it is possible to condition it to be kept.
I suppose theoretically it could be conditioned, yes, but obviously the advice from the conservation officer was that it was not needed. So just bear in mind that there can be appeals against conditions, but yeah. I presume it's not going to have any impact on the actual development per se if it's retained.
Could it be perhaps donated to the museum? It doesn't have to be there, but it's just to make sure that we've got one at least within the area. That's my only thoughts.
What we could do is maybe ask for a scheme as to what we're going to do with it, or with the actual sign and the main sign itself, and therefore we can then discuss with the applicant and the museum, for example, because obviously there's people to actually discuss things with there, but to try and get some retention of it.
Any further questions? No. Can we have a proposer and seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Stevenson, Councillor Ellis. Any comments on the application while we're in debate mode? Councillor Stevenson.
Just to second Councillor Ellis's idea with the sign, I think either retaining it or having it donated to the museum, if they'd be willing to take it, of course, would be a good thing. I think a lot of time you lose those types of things, especially on pubs, the numbers that are closing down now and signs get taken down. So hopefully it could be retained in some way, either at the museum or on the building itself.
Any further comment? On that point, in Warsaw, when the Gate pub was knocked down for a new co-op, the co-op used the name and kept it for posterity as the Gate. So it could be that this development would be enhanced by keeping the sign. I don't know. That's up to the applicant. Councillor Swinscoe.
Suppose that they keep the sign on the building.
Could be put as a condition.
It could be a condition, or it could be you could have a condition which asks for a scheme to be submitted as to what to do with the sign. So it gives us a bit of flexibility in case it's better that it does go to the museum, for example.
I think in the first instance, I'd like to propose that it's kept on the pub, on the building itself.
That's fine. I think. Well, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so this is an amendment to the original proposal. So we're going to need to vote.
This would be an amendment to the actual approval. So if you're proposing that the sign is retained, Councillor Swinscoe, and we have a seconder, we can vote on that.
And that's both,
And
just
that would
here, it's both
and the
that's for
applicants.
both sides. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Abbs? Any comments? Councillor Stevenson?
I'm not sure if it's clear from that photo, but does it have branding on that belongs specifically to the brewery? And if so, is there a legal issue with retaining signage that contains branding for a company that potentially doesn't want it on or associated with? I'm not sure. That's my only question.
Would you all just respond to that, Councillor Stevenson?
Yeah, so it's not something we can confirm, but we would word the condition in a way that it was sufficiently caveated so that we could, without further subjective permission from we'd do it in a way to be approved by the chair.
Any further comment? No? Can I take a vote on this amendment and to retain the Mansfield Brewery sign and the Dyer pub sign? Who's in favour?
Just for clarification, are we voting on two separate items then? One to retain the sign and the heritage aspect, and then again for the grade 2 listed building.
Well, this is an amendment to the original thing. It's just to keep the signage. If that's approved, then it'll form part of the.
This is amendment.
This is just the amendment. We'll go back to the substantive motion. So can you just have a show of hands again? Then this is just for the amendment. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? No, that's unanimous. Thank you for that. So we'll now go back to the substantive motion, the officer's recommendations, which now include the retention of the signage as part of the condition. Those in second for that, Councillor Stevenson, Councillor Ellis. Any comments or in debate? No further comment? Can I take this motion to the vote? All those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstention? Motion is therefore carried. The application reference 2023-0356 LBW listed building consent for the internal and external alterations in association with a change of use from public house to commercial unit ground floor and one number 4 bedroom and one number 6 bedroom house in multiple occupancy, first and second floors, 15 the marketplace, has been granted, including the condition to retain the sign for the public house and the Mansfield Brewery. Thank you for your patience. We now move on to item 7, which is planning application reference 2023-0503 for 2-storey extension to the south elevation and minor extension to the existing northern gable, reconfiguration and improvement works to existing care home to create an additional 24 bedrooms, including landscaping works, staff and visitor car parking and ambulance drop-off area. Newgate Lodge, care home, Newgate Lane, Mansfield. I ask the officer to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Members may recall that this application was on the agenda for the December committee meeting. However, following late comments being received from the Highway Authority, which maintained their objection, the application was withdrawn from that agenda pending the completion of parking surveys to assess the parking demands of the extended facility and the preparation of an updated travel plan and transport assessment. Since the committee report for this agenda has been published, amended comments have been received from the Highway Authority. Again, this response has been received at the very last minute, being received by the officer this morning. So unfortunately, the comments haven't had a chance to circulate those comments, so I'll read those out to you now verbatim. In the opinion of the Highway Authority, their primary concerns remain the under-provision of parking. The applicant does not intend to increase proposed parking provision, and in response to our previous comments, has submitted a revised transport statement and travel plan. The revised transport statement includes a one-day parking survey conducted on the Thursday, the 21st of December. Whilst the survey is welcomed, parking data for one day only in the week before Christmas is not considered a reliable indication of parking activities at the site. It should be noted, as previously highlighted in our original comments, that the transport statement indicates an extract supposedly from the current Nottinghamshire Highways Design Guide. I can confirm that this is not an extract of the current design guide, and the maximum standards of the past were replaced with minimum standards. Therefore, 51 spaces are not a maximum but a minimum requirement, and where the lower level is provided, this must be justified. The transport statement responds to our comments regarding parking within the mouth of the access, indicating that parking is not a result of the care home for which we are aware. We are highlighting the existing demand for on-street parking with the locality, and the evidence of vehicles parking within the mouth of the access would indicate that the provision of on-street parking struggles to meet the current demand. The extension of the care home with insufficient off-street car parking will exacerbate this issue further. Unfortunately, due to time delays, we haven't been able to send the travel plans to an external body who carries out work for the Highway Authority in reviewing travel plans. However, it is considered that the travel plan can be updated via a condition. Therefore, that the Highway Authority object to the application as currently presented for the reasons previously referred to. However, if the local authority disagree with this stance and are minded to approve the application as currently presented, it's recommended that a condition regarding the travel plan, submission of an updated travel plan, and also a second condition stating that a post-occupation survey to identify any parking issues arising from development shall be submitted to and approved by the local authority. And the results of that survey, including measures to overcome any issues that have been identified with parking. In terms of officer comments, I just want to clarify a point in the report which referred to the potential level of parking which would be generated by the travel, but when you refer to the parking surveys that were undertaken and then apply that to the capacity of the car park which is being provided, taking account of the extended facility, it's considered that if you apply those figures in the surveys to the proposal, it would result in a 77% capacity rather than 87% capacity as set out in the report. So if I can just go into detail in this application, the proposal seeks to provide a new two-storey care home extension to the existing care home and reconfiguration of the existing space to provide improved accommodation for residents and enable the care home to operate more efficiently through improved visitor and staff and catering facilities. You can see those on the floor plans here. The new area is on the left-hand side of the screen, and the elevations are in the shaded elevational drawings here. Once completed, the proposal will provide an additional 24 bedrooms for the care home, giving an overall total of 84 beds, and therefore meet a specific need identified in both the local plan and national policy to increase the provision of specialist housing for the elderly. This represents a significant benefit of the scheme. The new extension, as you can see on the elevational plans in front of you, would mirror the form, scale and design of the existing building, and would respect the footprint of the existing structure. As such, it would preserve the character and appearance of the area in general. A new landscaped area would also be provided in the area as highlighted by my cursor here, which would provide a shared communal area for potential residents and therefore increase the area of landscaped amenity space for residents. The existing access for vehicles off Newgate Lane would be retained and provide safe and suitable access for the extended facility. Concerns have been raised by the Highway Authority regarding vehicles associated with the care home blocking the main site access. However, it's been confirmed that these vehicles are connected with nearby houses rather than the care home itself, and the applicant will introduce physical measures to prevent vehicles obstructing the access. These measures can be conditioned, and therefore we would recommend that a condition is imposed requiring the submission of these physical measures to be provided for the local planning authority to approve. A total of 35 car parking spaces would be provided on site, which are seen on the plan in front of us here. So there's a section of parking here and then along the boundary on this side of the site. This would represent an uplift of 13 spaces when compared with the current provision for the 60-bed care home. Although the level of car parking on site is below guidelines in the Highway Design Guide, which would require a total of 51 spaces rather than the 35 which are being proposed, and the Highway Authority maintains its objections, it's considered that the parking surveys which have been provided do demonstrate that adequate space would be provided on site for the extended facility. And I would probably take a different view to the Highway Authority in that the day the parking survey was undertaken on the Thursday the 21st of December was a general working day for everybody, with most people and even the schools not breaking up to the end of that week. So it's arguable whether that day was a typical Christmas day where parking demands will be lower. So that's just a comment from officers on that point. In relation to the servicing and ambulance drop-off points, this layout has now addressed the concerns that were previously raised by the Highway Authority in terms of parking and manoeuvring within that area. In summary, whilst the scheme provides reduced levels of off-street parking when assessed against advice in the Highway Design Guide, the sustainable location and the measures contained in the travel plan and the results of the parking surveys justify the proposed level of parking on balance. The public benefits of providing much needed specialist housing also supports this case. As such, planning permission is recommended on balance, subject to the conditions and the Section 106 agreement. And also could I just also comment on one of the two suggested conditions by the Highway Authority regarding the requirement for a further parking survey to be undertaken after the permission is granted. Officers don't consider that this would be a viable option, as we cannot confirm that if there was an issue with parking, it couldn't necessarily be overcome potentially. It would be a grey area, so we wouldn't recommend that the second condition is imposed.
Thank you for your report. I've got a speaker on this application, Bob Wallard. When you're ready, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee, for the opportunity to present the application to you. I'm an agent acting on behalf of the applicant, Newgate Lodge Care Home, which forms part of Lidder Care. Lidicare, an extremely experienced care operator, proud to offer the highest standards of person-centred elderly care. They look after some of the most vulnerable people in our communities, giving comfort and reassurance to both residents and their families. This proposed expansion and improvement will support the enhanced operation of the care home in delivering personal care, social cohesion and employment opportunities. Residents and staff at Newgate Lodge are overwhelmingly local people, providing an opportunity for residents to stay in familiar surroundings, close to their friends, close to their relatives, as their care needs increase. The proposals are policy compliant and the benefits are self-evident. There's a single residual issue here which relates to the parking provision. The Highway Authority have expressed a concern at the 11th hour, I have to say, that their parking standards are not fully met within the proposals. This genuinely isn't a moan. I'm sure the Highway Authority have their own resourcing issues, but twice, obviously, your officers have worked hard to get the application to committee, and twice the Highway Authority have come back very much at the last minute, as you heard yesterday. This is at best unhelpful. The fact is that following the comments that came late last month, we have undertaken the parking audit precisely as was asked for, and unequivocally that audit demonstrates that peak utilisation at the busiest time of day, at a busy time of year, is 83% of capacity. Translating this to the 84-bed home would require 27 spaces. We're providing 35. And I should also note that a previous extension was granted to the home that was never implemented in 2013, and that had 27 spaces for 89 beds, the lower ratio. And the Highway Authority has commented that the audit was considered too short and too close to Christmas. Obviously, the audit had to be done in order to get the application back to committee and had to be done quickly. But I also say that Christmas, the week before Christmas, is actually one of the busiest time for care home visits, obviously with people visiting relatives close to the festive period. The consultants themselves have commented that the audit is compliant and can be relied upon. Lidicare themselves have got 30 years experience of operating care homes, and of course they have a detailed understanding of how parking demands arise from both visitor requirements and staff. As has been noted, this site is in a highly accessible location, and a significant proportion of staff live within a mile, probably less, from the home, and either walk, cycle or get the bus to the home. This is very typical for a care home. The applicant's also installing new security gates to ensure that the car park is only used by staff and visitors, where there previously been issues with unauthorised use of the car park entrance, and that's now been resolved. The additional parking spaces, coupled with the submitted travel plan, will ensure there's no demand for off-street parking, and in addition, a dedicated ambulance drop-off bay has been provided. I think the previous discussion, your officers talked about evidence and eliminating issues. What you have in front of you is evidence that the parking provision is satisfactory, and the conditions that will eliminate any issues going forward, and that includes the travel plan. You have in front of you a good quality addition to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Do members have any questions? Councillor Ellis.
My question is that how many full-time equivalents actually man the beds that you've got now, and how many are anticipated? So I would presume that you're going to have extra staff for the facilities that you're planning.
Yeah, usually the ratios are probably about 1 to 10 in terms of the staff to residents, but obviously there are other staff as well in terms of catering and cleaning, etc. So the additional staff numbers proportionally are obviously catered for by the additional car parking spaces provided as well proportionately. So yes, there'll be an increase in staff along with the increase in residents, but that's where the increase in car parking spaces comes in.
Councillor Ellis?
And what about visitors? Because you've got extra visitors as well with your extra 24 beds.
Yeah, so again, those additional spaces in totality are to cater for both additional staff and additional visitors.
Any further questions? No one's indicating. Thank you very much, Mr. Arnold. Do members have any questions of the officers? Please indicate. No one's indicating. No. Do I have a proposer and seconder for the motion? Councillor Swinscoe and Councillor Stevenson. I'm just getting some whispers in here because there were in the report some additional conditions that the officers said. I'll ask them to clarify what the motion now includes. Claire?
So obviously subject to the late comments that came in from the Highway Authority, they proposed 2 conditions, but we're recommending just one of those, and that's the travel plan. Condition is put on again, and the reason for that is that we haven't had the travel plan comments back yet, so it gives some security. I would suggest going down the line that if the travel plan, because we've got a Section 106 agreement to actually draw up, so if normally what we do in those circumstances is if a condition has been satisfied, for example, it doesn't need to be on there, we'd work with the applicants in the meantime so there's not a delay, and we take it back to the chair of planning committee to actually say that can come off, so that would go in the chair minutes. So that was the first condition for the travel plan, and the second condition is in relation to a scheme for the physical restrictions at the entrance of the car park. Just so we've got some comfort that we're doing everything we can to stop the parking at the site access, so we can sort of have some control over that and what actually gets put in.
Does that make it clear? So are you happy to propose Councillor Stevenson and Councillor Ellis? Yeah? Any comments while we're in debate mode? Councillor Tempest-Mitchell?
I have a concern, and it's not just in relation to this application really, is that on some applications, we told point blank, you can't go against what the Highways Authority says. But if we approve this, then we are going against what the Highways Authority is saying. And I'm uncomfortable with that because sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. It's inconsistent.
Thank you for that comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's different aspects of highways. So when we look at parking, it's more to do with guidance, and it's not, I don't like to use the word mandatory, but it's not technical in terms of capacity of the highway network, for example, where you need a professional to actually, you've got actually specified arbitrary things that you have to meet, because obviously you're talking about adopted roads, which the Highway Authority have to approve under their legislation, for example. So we're very reluctant to go against highways when it's talking on technical matters like capacity and really coming down to highway safety. I think parking can be a highway safety issue, obviously, but it's more of a judgment as opposed to it's more guidance, so it gives a bit more discretion to the local planning authority. Parking does, as opposed to the real specifics of the technicalities of the highway network, and always bearing in mind with highways that the impact has to, the test is severe. So in this circumstance, we don't really think that it would be a severe impact.
Does that explanation help? Yeah. Any other comments? Everyone's indicating. No? Thank you. With that, I'll go to the vote with a show of hands. All those in favour of granting permission, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. Plan application reference 2023-0503. Two-storey extension to the south elevation and new extension to the existing main gable, reconfiguration and improvement works to existing care home to create an additional 24 number bedrooms, including landscaping works, staff and visitor car parking, an ambulance drop-off area, Newgate Lodge, care home, Newgate Lane, Mansfield, with the additional conditions as per the officer's recommendation and satisfactory 106 agreement being negotiated. Planning permission has been granted. Item 8, the Appendices of Human Rights Act and use classes Appendices 1 and 2, pages 63 to 66. These are for noting. Can I have a show of hands that you've read them and note them? All those in favour? Yeah, unanimous, thank you. And item 9, planning appeal decisions, 7th of December 2023 to 31, pages 67, 68. Can we have another show of hands that you've read them and we note in them? Thank you, that's unanimous. Right, thank you very much for your attendance tonight. Wish you all a safe journey home. Thought that was quite a good meeting. Thank you.